Migrations, migrations, migrations. Every non-trivial application is inevitably going to need to do a migration at some point. Plans change, you or your boss decides to add a new feature or change something, and now your beautifully well-designed schema needs to change. But how do you do that when you have hundreds, thousands, millions of rows already in your database? You can't just change the schema. I mean, Convex won't allow you to do that. So how do we do this? Also, why on earth can't you just drop a column in your schema? I mean, you could do this with Postgres, so why can't we do this on Convex as well? Well, if these questions are you, don't worry, you're not alone, because I had these when I first started using Convex as well. There are very good reasons why it works like this, but that doesn't stop these being excellent questions, and hence why migrations is a topic that I get asked about more than any other right now. And the answers to these questions get to the very heart of what makes Convex, well, Convex, and the reason why I personally love it. So stick around, grab yourself a lovely cup of tea, settle in, drop me a like and sub, and we're going to do a deep dive into migrations. Alright, to understand migrations, we've got to take a little step back first and understand a little bit what actually makes up a Convex app. So your app, or well, the technical name is a deployment, is comprised of two main things really, is your functions and your data. So your functions, which are, your queries, mutations, and actions, they operate on the data. Now, every Convex table has a schema that defines the shape of your data. And by the way, did you know that you can choose not to explicitly define a schema? Yeah, so if you open up the Convex dashboard and just create a new project, then you can go to the data tab and then just create a table and then insert some data of any shape into it. And obviously at this point, we haven't actually defined a schema in code. We haven't uploaded any functions or anything yet. Now, if we open this menu here with the three dots, we can actually view the schema. So although we haven't actually defined a schema yet, Convex is still maintaining an implicit behind the scenes schema, which it automatically updates whenever the data changes. As you can see, if I change this age value here from a number to a string, we can see that it becomes a union of float64 and string. Now, this implicit schema mode of Convex is very handy for experimenting with things, but I wouldn't actually recommend using it like this in production. Instead, what we probably want to usually do is we explicitly define a schema in our code. Then Convex is going to flip into its much more restrictive mode where it will not allow us to insert or update rows in our table that does not conform to our explicitly defined schema. So this is the key thing to realize about Convex at this point. Even though your data is presented as tables in the dashboard here, you shouldn't think about it like that. It's not actually how it's stored behind the scenes. Instead, it's actually just basically a series of JSON documents that's in a big list, and the explicit schema just protects what can and can't get written into that list. So if you open up a locally hosted version of Convex, which is basically just an SQLite file by default, then you can see in this JSON value column here in this documents table, it's just a JSON object. All right, I can hear you saying, okay, Mike, what has this got to do with migrations? And I am getting there, just hang on 1 second. So now that we have our data protected by our explicit schema, Convex is going to guarantee that our documents inside of our database are going to match this shape. So now the final part to consider is our functions that operate on that data. So we have this contract, I suppose you could call it, between our function and our schema, right? So Convex is very nice in that it generates a TypeScript interface for you. So basically we're going to get yelled at by TypeScript if we try and push something into our table that's in the wrong shape. And I mean, we can disable this TypeScript type checking if we like, and we can see that our Convex functions are going to get pushed up. But if we do try and insert something into that database, we're still going to get an error. Convex is going to catch us at the runtime. So the point I'm trying to show you is that your functions and your schema, you should think of it as one unit. They're bound by this contract between your functions and your schema, and they both get deployed to Convex atomically as one unit. And this is great because thinking about your application like this means we can have a really nice feature, which is zero downtime updates. So basically, once everything has been uploaded, And so long as Convex is happy with the schema, then we can just simply switch all traffic from the old version to our new version, and our users are going to be none the wiser. Now, it does get a little bit more tricky when you have to consider long-running actions, but I mean, that's details behind the scene that Convex has to worry about, not you. So again, just to reiterate, so long as this v1 schema can safely transition to this v2 schema, then everything is gravy. But if the schema can't safely transition, then we can't update our functions either. And basically this whole update gets rejected and we remain on v2. So the question is, what do we mean by safely transition the schema? Well, this gets to the heart of what a migration is. So let's take a little closer look at this part here. Let's keep it simple and just say we have a single table, a single users table that has only 3 rows in it. So in v1, our schema looks like this. We have a name, which is a string, and an age, which is a number. Now, let's say that we want to do a new version where we're going to add, I don't know, like an email field to our users. Well, if we try and do this in the code with the Convex dev server running, Convex won't let us do this because it's going to say that all documents must have an email field. And so if the schema was to be applied right now, then it wouldn't be the case because our existing 3 documents don't have an email field. So the question is, how do we solve this then? Well, there are a few ways that I can think of. Firstly, if Convex had a mechanism where you could run through all of the rows before the schema was applied and then update them to add the email address, well, then the schema then would be valid, and so then the update could be applied. This would work, but this function that we're going to run could take quite a while to iterate through all the rows in the table, particularly if, like, for example, for each user, we need to look up to some external service and come back to get that email address. And time is not something we have when we're actually aiming for zero downtime deployments. So if we want these versions to increment atomically, we go from version 1 to version 2 to version 3, etc., then we can't have a moment in time where some rows are valid state and some are not. Basically, the only way to do this is to bring the whole system down, stop all traffic to the application, do this function that runs through all the rows, and then bring the system back up again. And this is what, believe it or not, what people used to do back in the day. I mean, and probably still do a lot. I've seen it a lot in games, but it's not ideal, obviously. It's annoying for users, and yeah, trust me, it's not a great experience. So another way we could tackle this is if we could provide a default value here, then it wouldn't matter if these documents didn't have an email address or not, because we would just use the default value instead. And in Postgres land or SQL land, this sort of thing is possible, because you can do something a bit like this, where you say here the email is text and it's not null, and the default is whatever. But right now, Convex doesn't have any sort of default concept like this. And I don't think it ever will, to be honest, because if you think about it, what does it even mean to have a default email address? And the same goes for just about any value. I mean, what does it mean to have a default value there? No, I think the only real solution is the third one, which is firstly to make this email field optional. In other words, it can either be a string or it can just simply not exist yet. So now our schema is valid because the shape matches our existing data. The string, it could be a string or not there. The trade-off with this though is that our functions, our logic, is going to have to add some additional code to handle the possibility of a user's email address either being there or not there. Now we can fix this if we have an operation that's going to go through all of our rows in our table and add an email address after we do our schema update. For example, we can have it again look up the email addresses from some external service. And this is again very similar to that option 2 we had before, except instead of doing it before the schema update, we're doing it after the schema update. So as long as our functions that insert new users into the table also provide an email address somehow, maybe they look up that external service again, or the user provides it or something, then we can be sure now that all of the rows in our table have an email address. And so then the final step now is that we can go back and change our schema to tidy it up and make this no longer optional because we now have an email address for every user. And this final change should update just fine. Convex should allow it because, again, all the rows have an email address. And then that's it. We now have an email field added and it's guaranteed to have a value for every single row, which is awesome. So what we just did, this 3-step process, is how we do migrations on Convex. These 3 steps allow us to have zero downtime updates and maintain integrity of our data. So in summary, the 3 steps are: 1, we update a schema to be in its loose form first, and then add logic to our functions to handle both potential states our data can be in. 2, we run our migration script to update our old data to the new form. And 3, we finally go back and update our schema again to tighten it and remove that additional logic from our functions. And voila, we have now updated our application to support the new feature with no downtime whatsoever. You're happy, your boss is happy, everybody's happy. But Mike, this seems like a lot of work to make one simple schema change. And yeah, I kind of agree, schema changes are one of the more expensive things you can do during software development. And it doesn't really matter what database you're using, which is why I think you must think extra hard when you make any change that is hard to reverse. And this is particularly important in the age of AI. So I've actually started telling people that if they're going to read any code that the AI farts out, then make it sure that it's the schema code. So if your AI changes schema.ts, make sure to give that a good read, because not only do your server-side functions usually depend very tightly on your schema, but your server functions then flow out, the types of that flow out to your front end. So if you change your schema, then it's going to have a large number of ripple-on changes, like ripple-on effects throughout your application. Yeah, and again, it doesn't really matter what database you're using here, whether it's Convex or Postgres or Mongo or whatever. If you want to do zero downtime updates, this is the way you're going to have to do it. You will have to do this type loosening, then the data migration, and then the third part where you tighten up your types is optional, but I would very strongly suggest that you do it. Otherwise, your schema is just going to become more and more optional over time, which is really hard for humans to reason about and AIs to reason about, because your data can be in a vast number of states, and a vast number of states mean a great deal of complexity and extra logic that you wouldn't need to have to handle if your schema was stricter. Okay, now, with that all being said, there are situations where you can change a schema without having to worry about doing a migration. I won't cover them all here, but here are some of the main ones. Firstly, if there is no data in your table, then you can simply change the schema as many times as you like. It's not going to affect anything, obviously. And this is important because when you're developing locally, you can just blast your tables, blast all the data in your tables, and then change the schema and not have to worry about doing migrations. Next, as we have seen, you can actually make the schema more permissive without a migration, such as making a field optional, or you can add a new member to a union if you're using union, because this means that you're going to be matching the old form of your data and your potential new form of the data. And actually, this is how you would actually change the type of an existing field. You would first make that field a union, and then you would migrate your data, and then you just remove that union, leaving you with your new type. And the final way you don't need to do migrations is if you have an optional field and you haven't populated any of those fields, like field values yet, like our emails from before, you can just safely delete that optional field because it's not going to break any data in your database. Actually, let's just talk about dropping fields a bit more, because this is a complaint I've heard from some folks. Why can't you simply drop a column on Convex like you can on Postgres? Well, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, about Convex being a document database and storing its data as JSON objects, not as columnar tuples like in Postgres. I haven't actually checked with the team on this one, but I suspect dropping a field would require scanning through all the documents and updating each to remove that field that you're trying to drop. Alternatively, I can imagine that on each document read, we could do some sort of object shaping that could exclude that field based upon the current schema, but this sounds really complex and I can imagine would slow down reads. So yeah, maybe not for now. All right, let's look at some quick tips and some tools that can help you doing migrations on Convex. Firstly, as with most complex things on Convex these days, the hard work has been done for you in the form of a Convex migrations component. You can simply define a function that handles a single row of data, then the component will take care of iterating through that entire table in batches for you and keep track of where you're up to. And in typical Convex component fashion, there's a million different settings and options there, so you should be able to accommodate just about any workflow you have. Just point your agent at it and let it rip. Speaking about agents, we also have an agent skill that is basically a condensed form of what we discussed in this video. You can install it globally with npx skills, or you can have it shipped directly to your project along with other AI goodies if you run npx convex AI files install. I personally find that with the component and the skill and just how good agents are these days, you can very often just ask the agent to perform all the 3 steps of the migration process itself. Just let it rip, just let it open the PRs, run the tests, deploy, run the data migration, and then do the schema update, the 3rd schema update. And this just works from my experience. It's much less effort than having to sit there and babysit the AI the whole time. So in software development, if an update goes wrong, it's common practice to roll back to a previous known working version. With migrations though, this is a bit more complicated depending on where you are in the migration process. So if you have yet to run the data migration part, then you should be good because you can just revert the code and schema back to what it was before. However, if you have run or in the middle of running your data migration, then your best bet probably is just to roll forward. That is, do another update that migrates from your broken state back to the known good working state. This will be a bit of a pain to handle, but thanks to the no downtime atomic updates nature of Convex, your users should be none the wiser. Okay, well, I think we've covered just about everything I want to here, but if there's something that I've missed or you have another question, please do leave me a comment down below and I'll do my best to answer. And I hope this video was useful for you, and if it was, I would really love a like and sub. And if you like this kind of technical explainer, then you're in luck because I have another one right here where I go deep on how Convex actually works underneath the hood. You're going to love it. But that's about it for me for today. Until next time, thanks for watching. Cheerio.